Hey everyone, Ricardo here. I wanted to take a step into Modern to see what's new since Dragons of Tarkir, and I found the jackpot. Today, we are going to talk about Grixis Delver. For those of you that aren't familiar with Grixis, it was a shard of Alara that represented black, red, and blue mana. Delver is a very popular archetype that is a tempo-based deck, and it uses a card called Delver of Secrets. With 27 or more non-creature spells, it flips into the 3/2 flyer consistently. This deck has been rocking the scene in Modern for the past few weeks. It's a very taxing deck for your life total due to all the fetching and shocking you'll do from your lands, but as Dark Confident always says, greatness at any cost. This deck has an insane amount of plays it can do from start to finish. The best addition to Delver and cons was Murderous Cut. From Fate Reforged we got Tasigur the Golden Fang, and in Dragons of Tarkir we got Kolaghan's Command. That last one might be surprising, but man, does this card just win games. It's so backbreaking almost all the time, it's always useful. The ability to bring back most of your creature base is pretty amazing, especially when the deck only runs a handful. Destroying an artifact is quite good to just have in your hand. I mean, there's a deck in Modern that is made up of nothing but artifacts, so having a main board answer for that is terrific. Also, Spellskite's pretty annoying. Shock, somehow, is still very powerful. With all the creatures that do see play, you can just snipe the smaller utility creatures such as Dark Confidant or Noble Hierarch, two of Modern's most popular creatures. The craziest line of play that we have here is to use Snapcaster Mage to flash this back after combat has been done, so we can bring Snapcaster Mage to the grip and finish off a creature. Delver of Secrets has been an amazing card since he was printed. He has won multiple Grand Prix, and he sees play in Legacy as well as Modern. In Standard, he was in the arguably best deck in the format, White Blue Delver. We have this in our deck because he is effectively a 3/2 flyer for 1 blue mana. Young Pyromancer is a hidden superpower of this deck. Young Pyromancer, when unanswered for 1 turn, becomes an unstoppable powerhouse. The tokens generated from him can become an army quite fast due to all the 1-mana spells in the deck. You can have them as chump blockers or for a very wide swing to cut your opponent's health down. Now what this deck lacks in early game power it can make up in Tasigur the Golden Fang. You almost always cast Tasigur for 1 black mana, and this can be as early as turn 3 with the proper cantrips. Thought Scour easily makes this a reality. The sideboard for this deck is also quite good, but always varies from list to list. So I'm going to stick with Nate Kahovec's list, which he piloted to 2nd place in the Star City Games event in Portland just a week ago. His sideboard includes 2 Blood Moons, 1 Dismember, 1 Dispel, 2 Dragon's Claw, 1 Flashfreeze, 1 Keranos, God of Storms, 1 Kolaghan's Command, 1 Magma Spray, 2 Negate, 2 Vandalblast, and 1 Vendilion Clique. Man, that's 11 different cards in a 15-card sideboard. I'm going to go over each card and what I would bring them in against so you can get a greater understanding of the list. 2 Blood Moon really shape up your matchups against the greedier decks. We aren't punished too heavily by playing this card because we have a basic of each type and we're able to grab them using our fetch lands. I would bring this bad boy in against any decks with 3 or more colors, so Abzan, Jund, Esper, and Naya decks. The Dismember is here for the scarier creatures that we need to deal with, but it's a catch-all really. So we can use this to target Tasigurs, Goyfs, Rhinos, and Deceiver Exarch. So bring this one in against Jund, Abzan, and Twin. The Dispel is really good against reactive and control decks. We have to be on the aggression as much as possible with this deck, so someone saying no to us simply will not do. Bring this in against Control and Burn. Dragon's Claw is obviously sweet against Burn, so that's why we bring in 2 of these. The Flashfreeze is another great card that is almost good enough to see play in the main board. It hits a lot of lists. We only want this in, however, against Burn, Jund, Naya, and Red-Green decks, as we get the most targets out of those decks. Keranos, God of Storms, is a very sticky card, and by that I mean once he's on the battlefield, he's hard to get off the battlefield. We like this against control decks and Jund. Control decks can't path him because we will have a non-creature enchantment almost all the time. Kolaghan's Command is just great to bring in against Burn, Affinity, and Hate Bears. It can kill all of the creatures that these lists run, and its other modes can pick apart the hand and kill their artifacts. Magma Spray is for Kitchen Finks and Murderous Cut. There's been a list floating around that uses Collected Company to put those dudes into play, and with Malira and Viscera Seer they can win the game by gaining infinite life or dealing infinite damage depending on which one they get, kinda like Pod. So if you see either of these 2 creatures, bring this in. Negate is terrific against control and combo-based decks. It's a hard counter to whatever they're trying to do. Note Escape Shift, Splinter Twin, and Pyromancer Ascension. This is also a great card against Burn. Vandalblast is more of a win more card against Affinity. That's pretty much the only time you bring this in. In the early game, you use it to deal with what's making their creatures really strong, and late game, you can use it to kill all of their guys. Vendilion Clique is a very powerful card in tempo decks like ours, but we don't need it in a bunch of matchups for the main board. We will use this against control decks and black-green X decks. We want to keep them off counter spells and removal, respectively. Now, like I said, the sideboard is quite interchangeable, so go ahead and give me any input you have in the comments below. I personally would probably add in Slaughter Games somewhere. I've been piloting this deck for a week or so, as I'm testing for GP Charlotte. I was testing against Scapeshift, and this was the 7 that I had kept. Should I have kept this? Well, that's all I got for this weekly deck tech. I've been messing around with this deck, and I would love any input you guys and gals have. Go ahead and post it down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks again for stopping by to hang out with me here at Gathering Magic.